What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
The doors are opening on a world where the line between reality and illusion has dissolved.
Advances in computer graphics over the past 10 years are making it possible to create artificial three-dimensional worlds, complete and convincing, though they only exist in the mind of the viewer and the heart of the computer. Known as virtual reality, or VR, this new technology uses pictures and sounds to wrap around your senses. Imagine a place and you'll be able to step into it. Conjure up a dream and you'll be able to fly through it.
It's unreal.
Have you ever had a dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to wake from that dream? How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world?
The story of XR begins all the way back in the 1830s England with the invention of stereoscopic vision by Charles Whiteston. His invention paved the way for the many technologies to come. Sterling G. Waybaum gave us the first recorded vision of a true virtual world in his Pygmalion Spectacles, a movie that gives one sight and sound, smell, taste and touch. You are in the story, you speak to the shadows and they reply. The story is all about you and you are in it. The 30s also saw primitive VR technology being used for training purposes when the Blue Box was used to train over 500,000 pilots for World War II.
The 50s brought us the Sensorama, a device that allowed the user to experience near full sensory immersion in a virtual environment. Users could walk on a beach and smell the sea air, or experience the thrill of a roller coaster in 3D video, with sound, vibration, and even smell. The same company, Heilig, also built the first head-mounted display, the Telesphere, in the 1960s. And in 1965, the great Ivan Sutherland outlined his vision, which remains a fundamental blueprint to designers in the industry today. The ultimate display would, of course, be a room within which the computer could control the existence of matter. A chair displayed in such a room would be good enough to sit in. Handcuffs displayed in such a room would be confining, and a bullet displayed in such a room would be fatal. With appropriate programming, such a display could literally be the wonderland into which Alice walked. His work went on to bring us the Sword of Damocles, the first full VR head-mounted display connected to a computer rather than a camera. The technology was so ahead of its time it never took off. Well, that and because the device was so huge and heavy, it had to be hung from the ceiling.
Myron Kruger's VideoPlace was the first interactive VR platform. Developed in 1975 using screens and cameras, users in different rooms could interact with other users' silhouettes in the same virtual world. This encourages the idea that people could communicate with a virtual world even if they weren't physically close. 1977, and the first precursor to Google Street View was born with the Aspen Movie Map. Created by the famous MIT, this program enabled users to virtually wander through the Aspen City in Colorado. Like Street View, it was created using photographs from a car driving through the city. The use of first-person interactivity suggested that VR could transport people to other places.
Then came the 1980s, where virtual reality was injected into the mass consciousness in a way never before seen or imagined. The movie Tron saw to this in 1982. Public interest in virtual reality and the innovation behind it were at an all-time high. Sayer gloves, created by Sandin and Defanti, became the first gloves to track hand motion within a VR environment. The military continued to develop XR technologies, particularly for aviation, where AR was seen as a possibility for live flight and VR for training purposes. Thomas Furness's Super Cockpit allowed a pilot to view 3D maps, infrared and radar imagery, as well as avionics data in real time in 3D space. The project cost hundreds of millions and was way ahead of its time, but it allowed a trainee pilot to control an aircraft using gestures, speech and even eye movements. In 1985, German Lanier and Thomas Zimmermann founded VPL Research. This company became known as the first ever to sell VR glasses and gloves to the mass market.
The 1990s came, and people's hunger and imagination for the virtual world outpaced our hardware's capabilities. Companies like Sega and Nintendo tested their might and ultimately failed. Nintendo launched the Virtual Boy console, which played 3D monochrome video games. It was the first portable console to display 3D graphics. It was on sale for only 1 year due to numerous design issues, including poor controls and the red color scheme, which quickly gave users eye strain. Sega launched the VR1 system, another eventual commercial failure that allowed users to play their favorite arcade games in VR. 1997 saw the first use of VR to treat psychological issues, when Georgia Tech created a program for veterans with PTSD, an early form of exposure therapy in a virtual environment.
In the 2000s, the momentum of technological advancement continues. 2007 saw the launch of Google Street View. 2010, stereoscopic 3D mode was introduced into Street View. In 2012, the Oculus Rift was developed on a Kickstarter campaign that raised just over $2.4 million. 2014 was a huge year for XR. Oculus was purchased by Facebook for $2 billion, a seminal moment in the history of this technology. Sony also announced that they were working on a project which would bring VR to the PlayStation 4. XR technology finally made it into the mass market. 2015 saw an acceleration of that. The Wall Street Journal launched a VR roller coaster. The BBC created 360-degree content. In the subsequent years, 2017 and 2018, several companies began to develop their own VR XR headsets. HTC, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Sony, Samsung, Apple. The XR market is officially once again bullish, not just technologically, but financially as well.
The XR market was valued at $25.84 billion in 2020, and it is expected to reach $397.81 billion by 2026. Today, XR has gone beyond entertainment and found a permanent role in everything from education, training, medical applications, retail, you name the industry, they want XR. The future for this technology is getting brighter by the day, with AR in particular becoming a popular tool that works well within the limitations of our current hardware. Soon, the limitations of today will be breached, with improvements in existing technologies like 6G and cloud computing, to new ventures for science such as nanotechnology and direct neural input.
Here, check this out! A whole virtual universe. People come to the Oasis for all.
Although no one fully understands what the metaverse is just yet, I think it's safe to say that we are creating something that will connect humanity in a way that's never before seen, and beyond even our imaginations up to now.
This will blow open the doors between this reality and the one which we wish to create.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day, this lecture hall will be made of code. And though they're virtual students, what they'll learn together is real. A surgeon will be able to practice as many times as needed in the metaverse before laying her hands on a real patient. These students aren't really back in 32 BCE, but they can still watch Mark Antony debate in ancient Rome. The metaverse may be virtual, but the impact will be real.
Oh, what the hell? Whoa, where am I?
55 years. Not bad, Morty. You kind of wasted your 30s, though, with that whole bird-watching phase.
Where's my wife?
Morty, you were just playing a game. It's called Roy. Snap out of it. Come on.
I'm Morty.
The current limitations are being shed by the day. Things such as nausea in VR are being solved due to high frame rates and higher resolutions. And advancements in headsets are helping to bring the virtual reality into this reality, so that almost any modern device can connect to the supercomputer in the cloud and become part of that network. Technologies such as implants are helping to bring our world into the digital world, starting with contact lenses and working all the way up to direct neural interfaces, such as Neuralink are working on today. With enough computing power, high enough bandwidth, and good enough interfaces, we could create an entirely new universe, one which we could create anything at any moment we want, travel anywhere at any moment we want. This power can only be understood in our context today as the power of gods. And perhaps someday, if these advancements continue as they are, we will harness this power and become masters of our own universe.